This episode of The Mandalorian was so good, I'm almost tempted to say it was perfect. Hi everyone, it's Grayson from Grayson Talks Everything. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Again, this is Grayson Talks Everything. And if you're not new here, welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be discussing the season finale of The Mandalorian Season 2, which by far it is the best episode based on the twist, which we'll get into later in this video. But if you haven't already, do click that like button and subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment if you want me to talk about anything else. And also go follow my Instagram, where you can see some amazing art that I do, and you can get updates on future videos that I'm also going to be doing as well. So yeah, here's some of the art that I do right here. And here is my Instagram page right here. Alright, let's get on to the video. So I gotta say, this episode was really good, but it surprisingly works with the director, Peyton Reed, who, honestly, even though I loved his first two Ant-Man movies that he's done, and those movies were really held up by its cast, the visuals, and the script that I don't think he penned himself. Like not once throughout those two entire movies where I was like, wow, Peyton Reed was a really good director, or he did really great directing here. Like everything else really elevated that film, and I was kind of worried that the cast would have to elevate it. And they didn't. Peyton Reed was a really good director here, but I do also think that he kind of got help from the writer, Jon Favreau, who wrote and I think directed some of the best episodes in The Mandalorian Season 2. So, good job to him. He did amazing in this episode. And also, I think what also elevated this episode to like amazingness and just on a fantastic level is the fantastic score by Ludwig Göransson. I think that's how you pronounce his name. It was spectacular. Like some of the scenes where they're not doing anything, or with the Dark Troopers, which we'll also get to later in this video. Again, it elevated it to a whole nother level, and they made the Dark Troopers, like their powering up sequences, and some of their fight sequences as well, made them a lot more intimidating, and it really just rose the bar. It was just incredible. I loved it. I honestly think Ludwig Göransson is on like Hans Zimmer levels of like doing amazing score work for movies and TV shows. It was just incredible. He knocked it out of the park. I don't know what else to say about that, because it was like immaculate how this, and not even just Dark Trooper scores, but everyone's, even in the more emotional sequences and the emotional scenes and some of the action sequences that didn't involve the Dark Troopers, he did amazing scores on that. And in the end credits, where he did like sort of like a violin or like calmer version of the main theme for The Mandalorian, I really liked that as well. I thought that was like really good work. Yeah, Ludwig Göransson. I think he already won a couple Oscars. I'm pretty sure he was the one that did the Black Panthers score. Again, he's just amazing, and he needs to continue what he's doing, because he has like the magic to make amazing scores. Again, Hans Zimmer level. Yeah. And I gotta say, again, with Peyton Reed's directing, I feel like he was one of the people that was behind the cinematography this episode, because the cinematography was great. And there were some like great scenes that you could honestly, I would use as just like home saver screens, or like just, yeah, they were just amazing. I'd like keep them on my phone, because the scenes and the cinematography was so amazing. Like how the Dark Troopers were lining up in that formation, that was awesome. And I love deep space, how they travel. It's always an amazing sight to see. Yeah, it was just fantastic. Again, amazing cinematography, especially again with the action sequences. Again, fantastic work all around with the creative team. Uh, and yeah, that was all just amazing stuff. And then what I didn't realize, or what I wasn't ready for in the beginning of this episode, is how there was like a lot of great guest appearances, especially, I have it in my notes. Thomas E. Sullivan, and I didn't recognize him at first, but I just finished binging Agents of Shield, which is a surprisingly good show. You do go watch it. It's on Netflix right now. But Thomas E. Sullivan played like the villain in season 7 of Agents of Shield, and he showed up in here. And Ming Na Wen was also in Agents of Shield, like for all 7 seasons. So it was a nice little Agents of Shield reunion, even though they did not get any lines together. But all in all, it was really cool to see like new guest stars appear. And it was always fun. There's always like a couple guest stars that come out in like these seasons, like Amy Sedaris and all of them. I'm forgetting Bill Burr. He was in the last episode, which was also really good. Yeah, amazing guest stars for the entire season, honestly. And then let's get into like big stuff. Like, I loved the TIE Fighter space battle. Like in the beginning of the episode when they were trying to invade Moff Gideon's ship. That was also incredible, even though they were trying to fake it a lot to try to sneak in. It was really incredible sight to see the TIE fighters all coming in and trying to shoot down the Boba Fett's enemy ship, or supposed enemy ship. Again, they were trying to infiltrate and grab Grogu. That's what the episode's called, by the way, The Rescue. It was all amazing, and it was a very intense scene. Again, thanks to Ludwig Göransson's amazing score. Yeah, now it was amazing. Yeah. And speaking of action sequences, like I talked about earlier, I want to talk about how most of this episode had a lot of all-female action sequences. There was Bo-Katan, Fennec, Cara Dune, and Bo-Katan's like sidekick. I forgot her name. Sasha Banks plays her. And on a side note, I honestly find it funny that earlier, a couple months ago, Sasha Banks said that the last episode she was in, when they first introduced Bo-Katan into the Mandalorian series, that was her last episode, and then she showed up here, and then has a lot more lines. It kind of confused me, because I was like, why did you tell them that you were not coming back for the rest of the Mandalorian show? That was so stupid, but all in all, it was just like it made me laugh. Yeah. And again, back to the all-female action sequences. It was actually really good. It was like coordinated well, and they were doing a lot of blaster sequences, and I always loved them doing blaster stuff. I always find it cool, and it adds to the Western feel of the Mandalorian show. I also find it kind of funny, but at this point, it's kind of getting like a little weird how like horrible the stormtroopers are at their jobs, because they're like, you could see at the point where they're like literally just missing them, and it kind of seems like they're doing it on purpose. So that kind of took me out, and it especially took me out of the sequence when Ming-Na Wen's character Fennec, she literally just moved from the blaster. Like, it wasn't even near her, but she just moved out of the way. It was odd, but again, the all-female action sequences were still good, and I know a lot of people can kind of say it as pandering, or as like needlessly doing it, and they haven't done any build up to it, because that was a lot of people had that problem with Avengers Endgame with that all-female action sequence. But I gotta say, like, they were like, a lot of these female characters showed up in like past episodes, or through a lot of the episodes through here, so it kind of made sense. They already made that plan before they got on there, so it wasn't like a random coincidence. It was actually really well executed. Honestly, better than Marvel did when it executed the female action sequences. So, and yeah, I really appreciated it. I really liked it. Ming-Na Wen, with very little screen time she gets, she makes the most of it, and yeah, it was just, again, incredible to see. Now, with the Dark Troopers, so I had to do a little more digging on it to finally figure out what exactly the Dark Troopers are. But I learned that technically Dark Troopers are just force sensitive like droids, and I find that like a very cool concept that I don't think they've ever built on more until this show happened. So I thought that was cool. And then the first part of the episode, because I think this is one of the longest episodes that they've done. Um, I feel like that they kind of made it seem a little too easy, and they were like very like sensitive to like Beskar armor and Beskar stuff. That was so it was pretty easy for them to like cut it out with cut at one of the droids next with Beskar like the spear when Mandalorian was fighting one, and then he like sent the others like out through like a space like great, and then they were like flown into space, and I thought, is that it? You're building up to so much, and then you like just flew them out into space, but like until almost the end, where it seems like they won, the Dark Troopers came back to finish their mission. So I was like, oh, it's getting there. They're gonna have to do this huge action sequence where they're gonna have to use all they got to fight these force sensitive droids, but then nothing really materializes, and then they kind of end it there. So, but yeah. But then something else amazing happens, but it kind of made me go like, okay, you won. It was awesome. Now, with Giancarlo Esposito's role in here as not Darth, Moff Gideon, I think we all know by now who've seen Giancarlo's work that he is an amazing actor when it comes to doing villain work, because he was amazing in Breaking Bad, and I think he was in something else. Oh, he was in the Harley Quinn show. He played Lex Luthor quite well, even though he did not get as much screen time in there as well. But I feel like they really built up Moff Gideon to a point where even though he's more or less not doing it a lot, he can still intimidate you and still make him like one of the best villains in the Star Wars canon. So I just gotta hand props to Giancarlo Esposito's acting, because he was amazing in this episode, particularly where he gets a lot more to do. Especially when he fought off Din Djarin, the main Mandalorian in the show. It was an amazing action sequences. It was an amazing action sequence. Oh my god, I can't talk. But it was just great, and it kind of and I love, honestly, again with Peyton Reed's directing, how it showed that Moff Gideon was never really a Jedi, and that he just picked up the dark saber and used it for himself, and you honestly can see how untrained he was with the saber, because he was really just like swinging at it with no real training or no real precision. He was just trying to cut him off, and I don't even think he knows that the dark saber could even like cut through Beskar armor, which was explained to us earlier in this episode. Excuse me. But yeah, again, he was great in this episode. And then there was one scene before they started fighting where Moff Gideon was like, just take Grogu. Oh, because I already got what I wanted from him. I wanted to study his force sensitive blood. And then I was like, really? For how much we built up, I was about to be real upset with Peyton Reed if they just let him go off like that. But no, like he was about to betray them and cut him off. But again, so it made up for it. Peyton Reed, I think this is some of the best directing he's ever done. Honestly, back to Peyton Reed. Yeah, this was probably one of his best directing. This was his best directing he has ever done. So yeah, and with Pedro Pascal, when he played Din Djarin the Mandalorian, I did not expect him to take off the helmet at the end of the scene where he was like trying to sing, when he was about to sing Grogu off with the character, which we'll get to at the end of this episode, at the end of this video. But he took his helmet off to like finally give Grogu what he always wanted, which was to see his actual face, which I thought was really heartbreaking, but really like so like wholesome as well, because you could really see the father son connection, which Moff Gideon even says. So it was just amazing all around, and his acting, his emotional like range, it was fantastic. I'm really excited to see him play Maxwell Lord in Wonder Woman 1984, which comes out next week. Again, very excited to see that. But again, the Mandalorian and his fight scenes in this, while he did not get a lot compared to the women in this episode, he did make up the time with his amazing acting sequences and his emotional scenes. So all around, he was great. So I did not know, because I'm watching the Clone Wars right now, but I haven't gotten to the part where they start to go really into the dark saber. I did not know that the dark saber had to be fought for, because I did know that that the dark saber was held down from Mandalorian to Mandalorian, and whoever wielded the dark saber was eligible to the throne and to rule over the Mandalorians. But I did not know that you had to fight for it, and it kind of like put for a second it was like, are like Bo-Katan and Din Djarin about to fight for the uh, dark saber, and then like Din Djarin was like, you know it, just take it, or and then she was like hesitating. I was like, I don't want it, and she was like, I don't want to be like the fake ruler, and he was like, just take it, I don't want to fight you. And it was kind of getting annoying at a point, because I was like, is Bo-Katan really gonna turn on him for a dark saber? But they didn't, and I don't think we ever got that resolved. And like it kind of, this episode really did end on a cliffhanger. But yeah, I was honestly about to be upset with Bo-Katan, but hopefully it gets resolved and she just takes the dark saber. Again, we just don't know what to expect. Now I gotta be honest with you. I wholeheartedly believe that the twist at the end, where Luke Skywalker comes to the rescue and defeats all the Dark Troopers and takes Yoda back with him to train him, which connects it to the sequel trilogy, I feel like that was probably one of the best reveals in the Mandalorian show ever. Like the best sequence. It was, and we didn't even see it, all of it, like at once. And you saw some through like the camera when they were like stuck in that room. It was just an amazing action sequence, and for a second, because he still had the green lightsaber at this time, for a second you would think that it was Ezra, because it was kind of teased, but again, it was Luke Skywalker. And then when he came in and we finally saw his face, it kind of looked off to me. I feel like the CGI was a little off, but then I realized that there was a double, and for a second, because there was some rumor going around that uh somebody, I forgot his name. He plays the Winter Soldier. I forget his name, but anyway, somebody was he was rumored to be playing Luke Skywalker. Um, but there was just some double in the role. But all in all, it was really cool to see him back engraved back into the Star Wars universe. It was, as always. And speaking of Jedi, I would honestly love to see Ahsoka return before her newly announced Ahsoka TV show. Um, yeah, it it was actually, again, it was really nice to see a Jedi return. Um, it was just really nice to see Luke again, and with R2D2, who undoubtedly is one of the cutest droids in the Star Wars universe. So again, it was just really nice to see a Jedi, especially a Skywalker. Um, so yeah. So now I'm wondering as well, what will Grogu's future be as a Jedi Knight? Because they're obviously going to be training him to be a Jedi Knight. Um, so it has me wondering how they're going to do that with the training as well. Because I really don't want this to be the last we see of Grogu, especially after the fate we know about in Star Wars: The Last Jedi. I really don't want him to be killed off screen. What I would love for them to do is that, like, in between seasons, he is training with Luke Skywalker, and like during like season 3 of The Mandalorian, which we'll also talk about later in the video. Um, he just comes back for like on like training school vacation. That would be honestly a funny sight to see, and then we can honestly age him up a little bit more and see him use his force and like maybe a lightsaber. That would also be awesome. Um, yeah, that would be honestly amazing to see. Uh, yeah. So I just wonder what's going to happen next. Uh, yeah. That like I really need answers, because they really don't leave a lot to they leave a lot to the imagination, but they also don't, because there's, again, it leaves you wondering and gives you a lot of questions for season 3. Which supposedly they said that the Mandalorian season 3 comes out in December of 2021, like Christmas. But then, like, which we'll get to right now, Boba Fett was very underutilized in this episode until the very end, where they tease the new show, the Book of Boba Fett. I think that's what it's called. And at like the very end, and they said that that show is also coming in December of 2021, and it kind of like maybe like think about it, because like the Mandalorian season 3 is started shooting and the Boba Fett show started shooting as well, and they're both coming out in December 2021. Are they starting to phase out Din Djarin? Because again, that kind of seems like odd. It kind of gave me a lot of like actual questions and made me worry a little bit. Um, yeah, I I really wonder what they're gonna do now, because I heard that there was some drama on the Mandalorian set with Pedro Pascal, but I did not think they were just gonna phase him out of the show entirely. Um, we'll just have to see. All in all, I thought this was an amazing episode, though. It was an amazing episode. Probably one of the best Mandalorian episodes ever. Probably like it's definitely in my top 10, if not my number one. Um, yeah, that was my review of the Mandalorian season finale of season 2. What did you think? Share your thoughts down below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. And also, do be sure to check out my Instagram and follow me on there. That's it. Goodbye, y'all.